Okay, good evening. We're up to Kuf Hey Amid Beis. We are 3 lines from the bottom. 3 lines from the bottom. Amar Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani, Amar Rav Yonason, Mai Dichsiv, Ne'emonim Pitzei Oyev, V'natares Neshikoi Sainei. It's better to get hit by someone who loves you rather than kissed by someone who doesn't. Basically that's the taich. Toiva klola shekil lachia shiloni es Yisrael. Better the klola that Achia gave Yisrael. Yoisim bracha shebercham Bilam Arasha. More than the bracha that Bilam gave. Achia shiloni killed es Yisrael b'kaneh. He compared them to a kana, a reed. Shnemar v'hiko Hashem es Yisrael kasha yonud hakana b'mayim. Hashem will hit Yisrael like a kana, like a reed goes ahead and it sways in the water. It stands in a place of water, which is a good thing. Vigizai, and its trunk, machlif, when you cut it, it regenerates. Ushroshav mirubim, and it has many roots. Vafilu kol ruchas sheba oilam bois v'noishvais boy. Even though all the winds of the world come, they'll sway back and forth, but it's going to be there. Allahu hoylech uba aleihem. Right? When it blows, it comes back to its spot. However, kivin shedoimimu haruchais, as soon as the winds stop, amad kainim kaima, it goes back to its spot. So in other words, what we call it's flexible, right? It's flexible, pliable. Aval bilam arasha berchu be'eres. His bracha was they should be like a cedar tree. My eres zeh eno oim b'makayim. Eres does not stand b'makayim. We'll see Rashi in a second. Sharashav mu'atim. And its roots are little. The ein gesay machlif, and if it gets cut down, it doesn't grow back. And afilu kol ruchas sheba oilam bois v'noishris by ein mezizas amim koimei. It's a stout tree that can't go ahead and be budged. However, kimin shen nashval ruach shreimis miyad a kartoi v'fachtel panav. Once a wind comes from the south, it's a very strong wind. It uproots it and it turns it, and it's gone. V'layoid el shezacha koin little mimenu kolmis. Another positive about the kana is that we take the quill for the lichtayv mimenu to write Sifrei Torah Nevi'im Ksuvim. So the klala of Achia that we compare to a kana is better than the bracha of Bilam that we compared it to a cedar. So Rashi says at the top, Eino oibim makamayim, v'hai dichsiv ka'arozim alei mayim. It says like arozim alei mayim. In other words, it over here it does not. It says it doesn't stand by water. It's not like a kana that stands by water. But Hashem says karazim alei mayim shchina hi de'amru. It's the shchina that said it. Iu oma karazim. He Bilam said like cedar kloimar shein oim dim b'makay mayim shchina amru alei mayim. In other words, the Kadosh Baruch Hu added that word in his mouth. V'chein kulay mifarish ba'agoda b'chiyai gavna. It's all explained that way. Kinechalim netayu. Who am I kinechalim? Like rivers, poiskin, right? Lefamim yatsa, right? Sometimes it stops. In other words, you can have a river that dries up. So you compare them to a river. Sometimes what it dries up. So what yatsa baskol v'amra can it natayai? It goes ahead, and it flows. Who am I kiginois? I'm a baskol alei nahar, not a regular gam, but when they're a river. Who am I ka'alim yatsa baskol v'amra nata Hashem. Right, like the olim that Hashem planted. So in other words, Bilam limited and the Kadosh Baruch Hu went ahead and he expanded it. He expanded it. Now to continue discussing Bilam. Vayar es hakeni, and Bilam saw the keni. Vayisam eshaloi, and he picked up his mashal. I don't know that every time he's going he's picking up his mashal, right? Amalai Bilam liyisrei. Kani is another name for Yisrei. One second. Kani. La yisei manu boisei. So 1 second. Havin schakmalai. Weren't you one of the 3 people who advised? One of the 3 people who advised? Mihai shivcha hashivcha etzel esani olam. And now they placed you next to what they sunny, the strong people of the world, meaning that your descendants are going to be in the Bezdin, in the Lishkas Agazis. How could that be? You were by me by the Wannsee conference. You were a Nazi. How could it be that now that you're it doesn't make any sense. V'hainu the Amar Rav Chia Barabba Amar Rav Simoi. Shaloisha Haya Ba'Seitza. 3 people were involved in that. Bilam Iyai v'Yisroi. Bilam sheyatz. Bilam said that gave the eitzah to take the children and throw them in the river, the baby boys. Sheyatz nerag. He was killed. Eov shepasak. Eov that was quiet. He remained quiet. Nidam b'yisurim. He got yisurim. B'yisro shebarach zachu b'nei banav leishe b'lishkas agazes. And Yisro, who was quiet, he was zeicha that his descendants would sit in the lishkas agazes, right? Shenemar. How do you know that? It says, "Umishpacha Soif." We had this pasuk before. Soifim Yoshva Yabetz. These are names: Tirasayim, Shemasayim, Shechasim, Hema Hakinim. The main word that we need is Kinim. Habayim Machmas Avi Beis Rechev. Uksiv Bnei Keni Chaysim Moshe Olam Yatmarim. It bears to mention a very beautiful shtickle from Chaim Shmulevitz on this Chazal, right? It says, if you think about it, so Bilam gave the Eitzah, Yisro ran away, and Eiv was Eiv. Who was punished the most? Eiv. You see, Eiv. So Chaim says, you see from here, not Nishtazai. You see from here, even if a person has Yisurim, as long as he's alive, right? If you have life, Hashem has given you, right? My Yisro and Adam L'chai. How can a person complain if what Rashi in Kedushin, I think Pei Dalit, that he speaks about Ryan Dalit, speaks about on the base. It speaks about the God, how important life is. As long as a person's alive, you never know what a person what person can do. What a person can do. If you do the Maisa about a person in Eretz Yisrael, he was watching a person. He was a doctor, a young doctor. He was watching a person going through terrible yisurim, and he pulled the plug. He pulled the plug, and he came to me that night. And the next night he came to me. He goes, "What did you do?" He goes, "You have no idea. As long as I was in this world, because I was getting all my kapara totally, and now I'm going to have to go to Gehenna because you pulled the plug." You know, so you never know. A person goes through Yisurim. In this world, we look at it and we view it with this horrible, right? But you never know what a person, the Cheshbon Shemayim, the Olam de Kushta, the Olam Emes, right? So Reb Chaim is very famous for it on this Chazal. Continuing, Vayisem Mashallah Vayoymar Oy mi Yichye Misumoi Kel. Right? He says, who can live, right? Misumoi Kel. What does that mean? Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, Oy la Lu'uma. Woe to the nation, you know what? You've abused the Jews all these years. You're going ahead, you treat them horribly. You know what's going to happen? The Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to come and take care of things. Woe to the nation is going to go ahead and be around at that time. Well, right? Me matul ksusay ben lavi levia b'shashin nischakim zeh. When a lion or a lioness, when they want to procreate, who's going to go ahead and put a blanket between them, a ksus between them? You got to be a fool. The pasuk continues, "V'tzim miyad kitim," great ships that go from Kitim. It's the name of a place. Amarav, you know what place that is? Is Liboin Asper. It's a place called Kitim. Is the same as Liboin Asper. I guess they knew where that place was. V'inoi Asher, v'inoi Aver. They'll go ahead and there'll be Ma'ana Asher and there'll be Ma'ana Aver. Ad Asher Kotla Mikdal. Until Asher, they'll kill. Mikan ve'elech mishabed. Beyond that point, then they're going to go ahead and be mishabed. Continues the pasuk. I'll go to my people. I'll tell them what this people should do to your people. Meaning, I'll tell the Jews what to do to you, which makes no sense. It should be the opposite, right? Guys, you hear what he's saying? What this nation, the Jews, should do to you. It says, it should be what your nation should do to them, not what they should do to you. Says the Gemara, Amrav Abba Barkana, Ka'odam Shemakal es Atzmoy, Betoilo Kil es Bacherim. It's a person who goes ahead and he curses himself and he's toiling in other people. If you look at Rashi, Rashi says, the last Rashi on the page, V'kach Bilam, Le'rotzo Le'shaflezeh B'balak. He didn't want to go ahead and make a tali in Balak. Sheyeh hu tzarech levakesh eitza, heich yichshu ba Yisrael. El Yisrael tola shaflis leima shehein tzrichim leitza sheyichshu ba b'nei Moav. It's like the skak gave yedei Moav al Yisrael. Vaynu dechsiva sheyasa amazel la'amcha lishnach rina toila kolase b'chaveri kleima shetola kosav klola b'Moav. What's lichlev klapi Yisrael k'mash ama bil marasha? It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu writing this, guys. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? Toila kolase b'kleima shetola hakosav. The Torah, guys, the kosav is saying it's to be totally what. In Moav, it should be Matolabat in Yisrael, right? Says the Gemara Vaita. Amar lahem, Elohehem shel elu Sinei Zimahed. The God of the Jews, he doesn't like Zima. Vehem misavim l'klei pishna. Now, just before we go on. What do you mean their God? I mean, he would bill him as a navi. He knew who God was. So I didn't post this, but says the Elohim shel elu Sinei Zimahu. Who yodea Bilam? Bilam knew that. Ki hu yisbarachu Elokim einoi milvadai. She'inava haya. So if he's a navi, why does he say their God? Why do you just say God? Guys, why does Bilam say the God of the Jews? Just say God. Bilam was a navi. Bilam was a navi. He knew his God. Einoi milvadai. He knew that. V'hada am Eloheim shel elu lefishu yisbarach miyachid shmoi al Yisrael. V'nikra Elokei Yisrael. L'kach nakat Elohehen shel elu. In other words, since HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even though Bilam knew he's God, but since HaKadosh Elokei Yisrael is miyachid his name in Yisrael, Bilam removed himself from it. Eloheim, their God. V'nitrad v'oid lefisha k'far nivash be'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nitrad. He already, Bilam was embarrassed from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he lost his nevuah. Right, we're going to see. It's called the Kaisim. Kiddushis out Pashas Balak. I'm not able to be over the Pi Hashem. Hashem Elokai. Like he said initially. Initially, he said, who God doesn't want to curse, I can't. In the end, he just said, okay. So therefore, it's not it's Elohim. He was miyayish on him. So their God hates Zima. So therefore, so now we're going to go through exactly what his Eitzah was. So Veheim misavim l'kli plishton. They wanted kli pishton. And then nice aura guys. They were wearing the same clothing for 40 years. They were wearing, so I guess they wanted a little change of a new haberdasher, so to say, right? So since they were wearing the clothing for so long, they wanted kli pishton. They wanted some good linen, right? Good linen clothing is supposed to be, especially in the desert, linen is very very comfortable. So they want kli pishton. I'll give you a piece of advice. Set up tents, like a shuk. Ben zainis, and put inside the tents, put zainis. An older one outside the tent, and younger ones inside. And let them set up to sell kli pishton. Listening to Bilam, they went ahead and they set up tents from the Har of Sheleg up to in the north to Beis Hashimish in the south. And they put Zionis inside them. Old ones outside, young ones inside. And when they would go ahead, eat, drink, and be merry, right? You want some linen clothing? The Zakena would say the price. The Yalda would give it for wholesale, They give a cheaper price. This thing happened a few times. And once they got, a little bakfemt with each other, they got a little used to each other. Bias. 1 second, you're like an Egena, you're like one of us. So shave barul atzmacha, go, come inside, and you'll pick your own. It's Satsuri Shal Yayin Amayni Munach Etzla, and they had pitchers of wine. Now, Vadayin Leinesar, as of yet, Yayin Shal Nachrim, they didn't have the Gezerah of Stam Yainam yet. They didn't have the Gezerah on Yayin yet. Again, the reason we don't drink Yayin, guys, is because we shouldn't be with the Goyim in the bars. The reason with Stam Yainam is also is that we shouldn't be intermingled with the Goyim in the bars. And this is what? Well, again, you don't want to have what to do to socialize with them. So Amrullah, with Saincha Shetishta Kaishal Yayin, they want some wine. Again, they haven't made the Gezerah yet. Guys, Stam Yayin Lavodah Zarah is where the Meshach Sheita Avodah Zarah. This is Stam Goyish wine. Kima Shashasa boy, once they drank it and they got drunk. Boy, they had a taiva. So Amallah Hishmili, they said to the Zainal, be with me. Haitzir Yerasa Mitacheka, And what did they do? They went ahead. Now, this is, the Torah Chaim points out, this is their own shtick. The only he said is he doesn't like znus. They went beyond it. They went drinking wine with them and also and bringing this garden. They took at the avodah zara. Amallah, go ahead and serve it. Amallah, how are you Yehudi? I'm not sure. What are you talking about? So Amallah, what are you talking about? Just go to the bathroom in front of it. It's balpar, but they didn't know that's the way you serve it. I'm not going to be with you unless what you go ahead and you go ahead and you go ahead and say I don't want anything to do with the Torah. They became in their ahavam, in their desire so much they became meshuketz, which means disgusted. By Yeshiv Yisrael Bashitim, it says Yisrael, they went ahead and they settled in Shitim. Rabbi Eliezer Oimer, Shitim Shema, Takan name of Shitim. Rabbi Yeshua Oimer, Rabbi Yeshua says, Shenis Asku b'derei shtus. They were busy with derei shtus. They were over on Vatikrena la'am l'zivchei Eloheim. So the Gemara Dashins is like Vatikrena la'am l'zivchei Eloheim. Rashi says Vatikrena, that they went ahead and they invited them. There was nothing between them. They would have clothing. They became, as a result, they became Bali Keri. So this is all this lashon of what happened. Now, since we discussed Shitim, we have the same achloikas between Rabbi Eliezer and Yeshua regarding other places. And again, 24,000 people died, and this was a terrible thing. This is a terrible thing. What Bilam brought to the world, he elevated the level of immorality to a new level. It's really an awful thing. Okay, my lashon refidim. Rabbi Eliezer Omer is refidim shma. That was its real name. Rabbi Yeshua Omer sheripoy atzmim b'derei Torah. That the yidden lashon ripoy, that they weakened themselves from derei Torah. Shnamar lehifnu avos albonim meiripyon yadayim. The fathers didn't turn to the sons because they were weak in Torah. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. Kamakashnem vayeshev. Anytime it says vayeshev, right? Ain't a lashon tsar. It's only a lashon of tsar. Shnamar vayeshev. The Torah Chaim says Vaishav. It seems to be a new trikin of woe is shav. Yisrael, what I said, Vayeshev Yisrael b'shitim, Vayachalom l'sleisal b'nos Moav. So nothing, you see Vayeshev, nothing could happen. Next, Vayeshev Yaakov Beretz Megori Ovev Beretz Canaan. And what happened? Vayav Yosef Abiyam. You had the whole Ma'aseh of Yosef. Next, and then V'nema Vayeshev Yisrael Beretz Goshen. Vayikvu Yimei Yisrael Lobos. So Vayeshev, and then he was going to die. Vayeshev Yehuda v'Yisrael levetach ish tachas gafnoi v'tachas te'enoi, and then it says Vayakam Hashem Satan l'shlomo es hadada adami mizera melech hu be'adam. So you see that what any time you have Vayeshev who was followed by something bad, similar to that, like Vayehi. Okay, how did Bilam die? Now we discussed how awful he was. How did he die? It says this Malchei Midyon horgu al chalaleihem, and the Malachim and Midyon horgu al chalaleihem. Chalaleihem is right? It's Masha, they killed the kings. The as Bilam ben Bar Hogu Becharav, they killed him with a sword. Bilam, my boy, Hassan, what was Bilam doing over there? In other words, what was Bilam doing by Midyan? It says Bilam on Rabbi Yochanan Shaholach Litol Schar Esen v'Arba Elef Sheipol Yisrael. Since the Minyanim had caused 24,000 people to die, he was collecting. I wasn't able to go ahead and curse them, but guess what? I gave you good eitzah. It worked to the extent that 24,000 people died. Pay up. So that's why he went to Midyan to get his money. He went to get his money. Okay. So that's why he was there. Amar Mazutra Batuvya Amarav, Hainu Damiyinchi, Gamla Oslo Limiboy Karne. A gomel goes to ask for horns. Oidne Dahabile, and the ears that he has, Gazizamine. Then what he has, meaning in this case, he went to collect his money and he ended up getting killed, similar to one who went to get horns and lost his ears. They call him the Kaisem. Kaisem, when he told Kaisem, Navi, he wasn't a sorcerer, he was a Navi. Rabbi Yochanan betchila Navi. As we said, Elohayim, he went ahead and he lost his level of Nevuah. No longer was he a Navi, but he was a Kaisem. Amra Papa, Hainadam Yinshi, again, that Lashon, this is a popular saying. Misigne Vishilte Havai, someone who had been the wife of a prince. Eisen, she does an act of Znus, Lagavri Nagari to people who drag ships. So what's the tushel over here? You begin as a princess and you end up as being a shlepper. Now, It says Horgu b'nei Yisrael b'cherev al chalaleihem. So it says the lashon al chalaleihem. It's mashma their killings. Amarav shekimu be'arba misais, that in Bilam they were able to go ahead and do all the arba misais skila streifa herek v'chenek. See Rashi here, guys. Right side. Hargu es chalaleihem misas harbe mashma. When it says chalaleihem, it's mashma a multitude of misas. Shetaluhu, they suspended, they hung Bilam. V'haitzisei eish tachas hatzliva, and they put a fire underneath the gallows. V'chatchu roishai, they decapitated him. V'nachlu teich eish, and he fell in the fire. Tchliya hainu chenek, chatichas roish hainu hereg, kishnafal la'aretz eskila, kishnafal la'ar hainu sreifa. Okay. Yeah, they asked the kasha l'chayra. He's dead already, so you want him to kind of all four at the same time. So it's mashma that they did all four simultaneously. That's what happened over here. Okay. Anyway, he didn't have a good ending. Sachalai. It's good. Amal lehahumina l'Reb Chanina. There was a min who said to Reb Chanina, Misha mi'alach Bilam bar kama have. Did anyone say how old Bilam was? So Amal leh Reb Chanina said, Michtav like siv. It wasn't written anywhere. When it says that people who are murderers and cheaters, they won't live out half their lives. We saw this by Achi Taifel. By Tilsa v'Tilsa Shadim, by Tilsa v'Arba 70, they'll be either 66 or 60, 33 or 34 years old. So Amalei Shapik Ha'armit. So the min told Reb Chanina, you're saying good. I saw the Pinkus of Bilam, and you know what is written? By Tilsa Shanim Bilam Chagigra, 33 years was Bilam the Hinkadika, the cripple. Katkotl Yosei Pinchas, when he was killed by Pinchas, who was either Sitna, you could say that he was Rashi says he was a Sar Tzava. So Mashi was killed at 33. Guys, you should ask a kasha. If he was part of the Havinus Chakmala, he had to be at least 210 years old. Yeah. If he was part of the Eitzah, he had to be at least 210 years old. Right? He had to be very old. So look at Rashi. Rashi has the kasha. Right. The Rav Chanina, fourth line down. Rav Chanina less laid the Rav Simai. And Rav Chanina does not agree with Rav Simai, who says he was part of the Eitzah. The Amar Le'el, Shleisha Hayabayis Eitzah. The Pari Bilam V'iyai V'yisrai, the Rav Simai Bilam Chaya Yosim Metayim V'esim Shanim. He was more than 210 years old. The Haya Be'etzah Parai, he was part of the Eitzah Parai. The Chala Ben Hayolid Hayora Tashlichuhu. And the Reb Simai Kolosim Mesayim V'esim Shanim Shal Yisrael Begalos Mitzrayim Ad Melchemes Midyan Chaya Bilam. He's alive all these times. So therefore, obviously that Reb Chanina, who says he was 33, 34, had to be arguing on Rav Simai, who said that he was part of the Eitzah. Amalei Mabrei Ravina Lebrei Mekula like Tafish Lemidrash. All these kings and all these hadyotis that have no chelik in the next world, you don't have to go out on a limb to explain that, how they died. However, Levadmi Bilam Arasha, Bilam the Kama the Mishkachas Beidorish Bey. It's a mitzvah. Whatever you can find to darshan and negatively about Bilam, go ahead and do it. So we finished Bilam, and one of the people, the next person was Doeg. Okay, let's discuss Doeg, guys. Doeg Hadomi. We mentioned him. Doeg Hadomi was I'll be medayik in my words. He was the greatest scholar in Klal Yisrael. He was the greatest scholar. We'll see. He was an incredible scholar. He was called, and the Navi calls him regarding Shishol Abe Haroyim. He was the head shepherd. He was the head of. He was the man. He was the huge Talmid Chacham, and he's the one who killed out Novir Kahanim. He's the one who was Miyayit's Shol to take Meirav away. He held, listen to this. He held David was a Mari b'Malchus. So since he's a Mari b'Malchus, he's considered dead. And he went ahead and he took his wife and gave it to Palti ben Laish. We had that on Daf Yomi, right? He gave it to Palti ben Laish, right? He gave it away. Aisha was an Eishes Ish. Doeg Paskin, he's not an Eishes Ish because David is considered a Gavra Ketila. He's a dead man. He influenced Shmuel. He influenced Shaul not to wait for Shmuel. He says, I was scared of the people. And Rashi brings there the Who's the Is Doeg. Again, he was such influence on Shaul. I don't remember where I saw this. It's been many years. His motivation was totally gaivadik. Where was kingdom supposed to come from? You all know Yehuda. Layasa Shevim Yehuda. Who was the first king? What Shevet? Binyamin. How did that happen? If it was supposed to be from Yehuda, how did that happen? So the part the Ramban learns, Layasa Shevim Yehuda, once Malchus comes to Yehuda, then it should never leave. But Shaul was before that. But Dayek felt once it's not in Yehuda, I'm the biggest Talmud Chacham. I should get it. His whole motivation in life was to go ahead and get Shaul to kill David, because David was the anointed king, and he knew that. And his motivation was for himself to go ahead and step in. So he was a person who, as we're going to see, he used all his chachma for evil. And he is listed one of the people, has no chelik olam haba. He died at 33 years old, 33.
Same personality like that also was Gaiva.
Who?
Your other Ben Lemar.
Yeah, the Gemara said. Gemara said, yeah, he died because of his Gaiva. He said that they'll be in. He said he'll be in Olam Haba with me and David. Right. Who's going to go first? I mean, it's not to be Messiah. Guys, the Meraglim. What's the reason the Meraglim gave the Diva Ra? What's the reason? You know what they were scared of? When they're going into Eretz Yisrael, they're going to be a regular Joe. They won't have COVID. They wanted to stay in the middle for their own COVID. The guy is an unbelievable thing. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Dayeg Adami is Nitra from Olam, and his whole lot. So now we're going to meet specifically Dayeg, as I just explained. We'll meet a little bit about Dayeg. So what do we know? Ksiv Dayeg. In one pasuk it says Dayeg, uksiv Dayeg, and another pasuk it says what? Dayeg. Not with the vav yud, right? One with an aleph. So his real name is Dayeg. Rabbi Yochanan. B'tchila Yoshev HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'Dayeg. Initially, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he was worried. Shema Yatz Zel Tabis Ra. La'achash Yatza. So Dayeg means the lashon of worry. Daiga. He was worried, and once he left, he became Dayeg. Dayeg Vai. The lashon Dayeg is like lashon Vav Yud Vai. Woish Yatza. What did this person? He left the right path. Simin is Giba V'Rasha Tzadik Vayel Seifer. A bunch of statements regarding what Dayeg. I'm Rabbi Yitzchak. My dechsiv, this is David writes. Matis hal bira. Why do you pride yourself? Hagibor chesed al kol ha'olam. You pride yourself with Ra, you mighty warrior, right? Hashem's chesed the whole day. Amalei Kodesh Baruch Hu l'Dayeg. Kodesh Baruch Hu says to Dayeg, like Giba b'Torah, aren't you a Giba in Torah? And you say that he says that what he's a matis hal bira Giba. What kind of, you're a Giba in Torah, right? So matis hal bira. Why, therefore, do you go ahead and pride yourself in doing such bad things? And then the pasuk says chesed as kol hayom, right? Chesed kel kol hayom, like chesed kel not ulecha kol hayom. Isn't Hashem's what chesed not spread upon you the whole day? And what did you do? You took this gift and you threw it away. A second chazal from Rabbi Yitzchak, from Rabbi Yitzchak, my dechsiv l'rasha amar elakim malachal esapeh chukai. It says that to the Rosh Hashem says, what purpose do you go ahead and say over my chukim? Amalei Kodesh Baruch Hu l'Dayeg harasha malachal esapeh chukai. Why do you go ahead and do you, I guess, look at my decrees, learn Torah? What are you going to do when you get to the pasha of Reitzchem after you kill that noiv? Upasha Mesapi Lashon Hara, and Mesapi Lashon Hara that you spoke about Achimelech the Kayin who gave the food to David. In other words, he left it out. He said that Achimelech was the king, was the Kayin Gadol Nov, and he gave food to David. He left out the fact that David said, "I'm starving to death." It was lechem upon him. He said, "You can't eat it." He goes, "I can eat it." David Paskin, I can eat it. And Allah is like David b'chol makayim. I can eat it. I'm starving to death. He left all of that out. Lashon hara. And you spoke about David, everything he wanted to do bad. So why did you gain? By what are you going to do when you get to the pasha of Yitzchanim, you kill that nov? And what are you going to do in the pasha of Lashon hara? Ma'ata darish behem. Pasuk says, "Vatisa barisi elai picha." You carry my bris al picha on your mouth. I'm Ravami. Everything was in your mouth. It never entered in. You ask a question, guys. We've been learning for so many years. The impact of Torah on all of us is significant. You learn it, you hear it, You hear something that resonates with you. It makes a difference in your life. How is it possible, Doeg, who was on a level of Torah that we can only dream about? Dream about. How's it possible? How's it possible? It doesn't say that. It says that what? All his learning was misafa ulechutz. He never internalized it. He never internalized it. He never internalized it. You think about the reform movement. There were people throughout history. We've had people who were great Torah scholars, but yet they didn't get it because the Torah was misafa ulechutz, and that was internalized. Torah is food for the neshama. If you go ahead and you keep it outside, it only is it's only for the body. It's not for what for the. It's not. It doesn't become part of the neshama. It doesn't come part of the neshama. I don't know where I saw that for. It's just but it's I was always I on my Gemara I underlined this 30, 40, 50 years ago. Whenever I saw it the first time, I was so taken by it that there are people like that. There are people like that who's very much it's an intellectual pursuit.
Didn't you have
What?
Gusman tell us the person from London?
Oh,
Yeah.
here's a story. This story. Amazing how everyone listens to stories much better than the.
That's the week.
Right. Anyway. Okay. So v'amar Rabbi Yitzchak, my dechsiv vayiru tzadikim vayirou v'olav yischaku. It says the tzadikim they'll see, they'll be scared, and they'll laugh at him. Betchilu yirou. At first, Doeg they were scared of Doeg. Ulb'sayif yischaku, and eventually what we're going to see that Doeg lost himself totally, and he was laughed at. From Rabbi Yitzchak, my dechsiv chayil bola vayakiena mi bitnoi yirashena kel. It says that what he swallowed a treasure, and it'll go ahead and vomit it out, and Hashem will take it out of him, purge it out of him. Amar Dav l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rebbeinu Shloilam, Yomis Doeg, let Doeg die, that he's young, let him die. Amar Loi said, Chayil Bola v'yakiena. He has so much Torah, right? He has so much Torah. How can I kill him? So Amar Lefanov, Bibitno Yoshena Kel. Go ahead and take it out of him. Let him forget his Torah early, right? Let him forget his Torah early, and therefore you'll be able to go ahead and kill him. What do I see?
Torah didn't impact him. Why did it protect him?
Right? Initially. Kodesh Baruch Hu liba boy shakol toli belev. Again, I'm going to see this Gemara. Okay, I'm jumping the gun. I have. Okay, says the Gemara Vaita. V'Omer Yitzchak, my dechsiv gam kel yitatzcha lenetzach. Hashem should go ahead and break you forever. Amar Kodesh Baruch Hu David. Neisei doig la'omer da'asi. Let doig come to the next world. Amar lefan of gam kel yitatzcha lenetzach. And David said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should go ahead and make sure L'netzach for L'olam he won't be in the Olam Emes. My dechsiv yichatcha v'yisachacha me'oil. What does it mean that what? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu cut you off and tear you away from the oil. V'sheirashcha me'eretz chaim sela, and you root from the land of life. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu to David, Limra shmaita mipi mijaj mishpat. So let the, in yeshiva they should say Torah in Doeg's name. David said, he should be torn out. In your tent, the tent of Torah shouldn't be mentioned. Let Doeg have children Rabbanim. And David says, his shirish sela, that Doeg should be uprooted completely even from his children. It says, where's the one who can count? Where's the one who can weigh? Where's the one who can count the towers? Doeg was able, his greatness in Torah, he knew all the chaseris. When the words that chasa male, when you put in a yud, you put in a vav, he was expert in that. He knew that. He's able to go ahead and weigh all the kal v'chaimis in the Torah. Where he can count the towers. He was able to go ahead and count 300, which is always a guzma of halachas regarding a tower which floats in the air. It says Rashi, guys, left side. The migdal haparech ba'aver, top line. Mitag ha'elyoina shalamayla min alamid. The migdal parech ba'aver is the little tag, is the little crown that is on top of the lamed. If they makfu for lamata, why it goes ahead and it's kaf for lamata. He was able to give 300 reasons for that. Why it goes downward motion. Lashon Mayri Rebbe mipia shmua. That was passed down. Lishna Achrina, second shot. B'migdal pareach ba'aver. Hanichnis le'eretz ha'amim b'shita tevul migdal. Someone goes into the eretz ha'amim, which they were goys to tumah on because they would bury indiscriminately in different places. Someone goes in and b'shita tevul migdal, different types of boxes and whatnot. Imhu tamei imlav if he's tamei. Lishna Achrina, third shot. Gimel me'es halachas b'migdal pareach ba'aver. Lasis kishuf. To do kishuf lahamid migdal ba'aver, to go ahead and suspend the migdal tower in the air. We had earlier in the Masechta 300 halachas regarding using kishuf to plant the gourds. Damina perik le'el. Well, Amari nira the hachigasinan. This is Rashi's Rebbe's pshat, the fourth pshat. Shalish me'es halachas b'migdal oimei ba'aver. Mishnah achas ba'oilois the mishtoi b'hachi migdal oimi ba'aver v'tumah b'seichoi kelim sheb'seichoi tameim v'chein nira. In other words, what's the halacha of a migdal suspended ba'aver and tumah is inside of it? Okay, so therefore he knew all these halachas. Amma Rebbe Ami arba meos boy doyeg v'achi toifel b'migdal haparech v'aver doyeg nafi toichel. They were able to had 400 questions regarding migdal parech ba'aver. They didn't come to inclusion any one of them. Amar Rava Ravusa lemi boy. Is it a great thing to go ahead and ask questions? B'sheni de Rav Yehuda kule tenuye b'nezikin. And the years of Rav Yehuda, they were all learning. They were learning the zikin. Baba Kama, Baba Basra, Baba Metzia, Baba Basra. Vanon kamaslinan tuva buktzin. And we not only learned that, but we even learned Uksim, which is one of the Masechtas in the Seder of Tyrus. V'kihavi mati Rav Yehuda, when Rav Yehuda would go ahead and get to a Mishnah, Isha shekaveses yorek b'kadeira, a woman who's going ahead and pickling a yorek and a kadeira. V'imila other say zaysim shekovshin b'tapeim t'hayim. This is shilas in Tumah v'Tayra regarding Uksim, the stems. Anyway, one was in oilus and one was in Uksim. So what would Rav Yehuda say? Havayas the Rabbi Shmuel kachazinu hacha. Meaning, I need Rabbi Shmuel over here. I don't know what's going on. So, but he knew Nezikin. Yet where Vanon and we says Rava and we, right? Kamasnisim books and Tlasoi Mesifta. We have 13 yeshivas that are learning what? That are learning it. Rabbi Yehuda Shalaf Misani Vasa. Yet when Rabbi Yehuda would take off his shoe, Vasi Mitra, he'd take off his shoe and rain would come right away. Vanon and we who know Ukts and everything else, Savchinon. We go ahead and we cry out. No one listens to us. What do you see? HaKadosh Baruch Hu liba boy. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't care what you know, but he cares how it comes part of the heart. Hashem looks into the heart. So this is the Torah Chaim says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu liba boy shakol toli belev. Ki boy mishkan haneshama. That's where the neshama lives. The neshama lives in the leiv, in person's mind. Right, or literally the mind. And all of the Ivarim, they're drawn after the mind. Right. A person's Isaac and Torah mitzvahs and his slave is not the Shemayim. He's like a body without a neshama. Right? And therefore he's compared to an animal. V'hainu da'omer perik beis the perikei Ovis. Roy ani as divrei Rabbi Eliezer ben Aruch shama leiv toiv midavreim shebachal devar devrechem. In other words, the 5 Talmidim of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and the words of what of Rabbi Eliezer ben Aruch, who said a leiv toiv resonated the most because of the leiv. Okay, so now you see that again. It makes sense if all his learning was misafel lechutz, and that was part of him. So he never fed his neshama. Okay, he never fed his neshama. Amar Rav Mishashia, Doyeg v'achi toifel loy savi shmaitza. They didn't understand what they learned. Maskal and Mazucha, 1 second. Mandich sivbei, aye seifa, aye shakal, aye seifa as a migdalim. V'amid loy havi savi shmaitza. We just spoke about them. How can you possibly say that? Elo do loy havi salka loy shmaitza li b'dehilchasa. They weren't zeicha that their halach that they're learning shalita halach l'maisa. Dechsiv sayid Hashem l'reyav. The secret of Hashem is those who fear Him, and obviously the what they didn't fear Him, so therefore they're not going to get to the bottom line. Ravami loy meis doyeg at sheshachach tulmadei. Doyeg did not die until he forgot his learning. Shnemar hu yamus be'ein musar uberoiv ivaltoi yishke. Okay, so Rav Ashi Amar Nitztare became a Mitzayra. Shamar Hitzmata Kol Zaina Mimeka. You cut down all the people who stray from you. Ksiv Hacha Latzmisus Umitagmina Lechalutin. The Lashon Latzmisus means forever, means Lechalutin. The person who's the Mitzayra that's Muchlit, that's decided. Utran Ein Bein Musko Muchlit Elowat Elapriya Prima. There's two types of Mitzayra. Mitzayra where you're not sure. That's called a Mitzayra that is Muchlit. And then you have Mitzayra Muska, that's the term Muska. Torah is put away. I want to make the Muchlit is what? The Muchlit is the he's quarantined, and the Muska the Muska is quarantined. He's Sagar. The Muchlit is Vadai. So that's why you see that he was a Mitzayra, because the Lashon Tzmisus means Achlata, that he was put away. Torah Chaim points out, what is one of the Gemara in Erechim? What's one of the punishments for lashon hara is tzaras? So in Meiluad he became Mitzayra. Okay, I sent out something. Let me see. I don't remember what I sent out, but yeah, I just sent it out now. That's what. Okay. So yeah. Yeah. Well, send out the story. I had no plan to tell the story. You have to owe it to Baruch.
Mhm.
Okay. So what happened to Doeg? I stopped short, fellas. I stopped short. Okay, I'll finish the Gemara because I want to bring in this Chaz. What we can read with this Chazal. Okay, let's. Okay, we can stop here. We'll do this. We'll do it tomorrow. Okay, we'll do this tomorrow because I didn't do the Gemara yet. So it doesn't pay. We'll do it Bez Hashem tomorrow.